Have you watched Arcane? What? No, I haven't. Why? Please watch it. Greetings, humans! Today, as you might have guessed, I'm gonna be talking about Arcane, one of my favorite TV shows, basically ever. And yes, please go watch Arcane before watching this video, because there's actually gonna be probably a lot of spoilers, and you don't want that because the series is very good, so just go watch it, or I'm gonna bully you. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to, okay? Don't worry. I love you. Anyways, back to the subject. So, Arcane. It is quite amazing, and in my opinion, even a masterpiece. There are many reasons why Arcane is so good, but here are some specific reasons why, in my personal opinion. Starting with death. I have a problem with a lot of TV series and movies or even books because I feel like they're afraid of killing their characters. Because it really annoys me because I feel like death is just inevitable. Like, you have at least one somewhat important character that has to die. I do feel like it's important for me to specify an important character because I'm not talking about like those random characters that TV shows or whatever just slap in to end up killing and that they don't really have any real development. Arcane isn't shy to kill its characters. In the first episodes, we get introduced to 5 important characters: Powder, Vi, Milo, Klager, and Vander. By the end of the 3rd episode, we already have 3 out of 5 characters are dead. And I know this might seem a little bit weird, but personally I'm really happy with it. The reason being, it was unexpected. You knew that Milo, Klager, and Vander were important, but still, they're dead. Well, that's a bit different for Vander, but we'll talk about this later. Sometimes I feel like TV series are scared to kill their characters because they know that their audience is attached to these characters, so they kinda don't want to kill them so their audience doesn't feel hurt. But actually, killing some characters that are important and that the audience likes can make them feel a lot of emotions. How surprising. And emotion is probably one of the strongest points that made Arcane so successful. Whether it was from characters dying, Mel manipulating the entire council, or even, this scene. Listen, I'm not here to judge. I kinda agree, this scene was something else. When watching a series, people want to feel emotion, they don't want to see something boring. And even if these emotions are negative, it still does the trick. And what's the most effective way to make people feel sad? Kill their favorite characters. Yep, get rid of all those nice little characters and you'll have a fulfilled audience. Obviously, I'm just kidding here. You have to make it in a certain manner that makes sense. The way that the characters die in Arcane makes a lot of sense, actually. And it doesn't feel like they were just killed to be killed. Their death had a reason, which was literally Powder. And this added even more emotions to the entire emotional mix or cocktail or whatever you want to call it. Because one of her beloved characters killed her friends, and it was on accident. She was proud of herself because her monkey bomb worked, but at what cost? And this is literally why I love Arcane so much. It has so much depth and nuances. It's not black and white. Unlike a lot of films where, you know, the evil person is just evil to be evil. In Arcane, the evil person is evil for a reason. They have a goal. And sometimes they turn evil by accident. Just like Powder. This brings us to my second point. Well-written villains. Silco is wonderfully written. Silco has never been evil. Actually, no one in the series is fundamentally evil. Silco has an interesting backstory. What I'm about to tell you is only my personal interpretation. I don't think that's exactly what it is, but that's what I understood, and that's how I read the Arcane storyline. In my eyes, Silco and Vander were and always were very close, to the point that they almost felt like brothers, but I don't think that they are literally brothers. They had this grand dream of making the Undercity the nation of Zon, to become independent from the Topsiders, which is basically the richer part of the city. They wanted this because the culture of Piltover and the Undercity is very, very different. You can see it in those two shots that I'm showing you right now. Piltover is rich, it's beautiful, it's even glowing with progress. In comparison, the Undercity is quite dark and almost humid, a lot greener, and has a very, very different feel. So even before Arcane's story, Silco was a good person. What turned him into a villain is Vander's sort of betrayal. From my understanding, Vander made a deal with the Topsiders, more specifically the Enforcers. He made the deal that if the Enforcers didn't come down in their city, Downsiders wouldn't go in the upper city. And obviously he didn't ask Silco's opinion, and Silco didn't agree when he actually found out about the deal that Vander made with the Enforcers. And so both of them, Vander and Silco, turned against each other. I feel like this is probably what gives Silco his more radical approach to getting his nation of Zon. To be completely honest with you, I kinda agree with the idea of making the Undercity independent, because their culture is so different from the Upper City that it almost makes no sense that these people, by these people I mean the Council, would have authority on the nation of Zon. As Jace said, I am not fit to govern the people who live there, and neither are you. End quote. I'm so sorry I had to quote Jace on this one, I just thought that this literally said what I wanted to say. So even Jace kinda agrees with Silco. He knows that their culture is very different, and just basically everything about the nation of Zon is different from Piltover. That's the reason why they are not fit to govern them. This just shows so much depth about the entire politics and just the entire Arcane world, which is honestly quite amazing given that Arcane only has 9 episodes. Now, my final and last point, the animation. I know, obviously I had to talk about this one because I mean it's one of the most outstanding animations I've seen. Like, you know it's high quality animation when you can pause anywhere and got a beautiful wallpaper. It literally feels like every single frame tells a story, which is quite impressive. I have rewatched this series a good amount of time. By that I kind of mean 5 times the complete series. I did it for the animation, but there's also Vi. Look. Vi. Just Vi. Right? Anyways. I've tried deconstructing how they animated this, and what I kinda got out of my pushed research, really not, but anyways, was that they basically hand painted a lot of textures on their characters and added this kind of 2D effects in a lot of places. A good example would be the smoke when people are smoking shimmer, or even just the smoke of a cigarette being smoked by Silco or Sevika. And this kind of reminds me of the type of animation that the Spider-Verse did, which was absolutely on point. I loved it, where it's very, very unique and outstanding. Another movie that I can think of that did this very well is The Mitchells vs. the Machines, where their animation style is very different from a lot of movies. And I feel like that's kind of a problem with 3D animations and even sometimes 2D animation, where it kind of doesn't feel unique. It feels like every single animation looks the same. Like, Please try convince me that all of these don't come from the exact same universe because they look just the same somehow. But this stands out. And honestly, it's not just the way that Arcane's animation style stands out, it's also the way that expressions are animated. If you have watched Arcane, you'll know that a lot of things aren't really said, they're just kinda said through emotion. The best example I can probably give you of this is probably the entire first scene of the first episode. There are 0 words spoken, yet the character's expression and the setting just tells a lot about what happened. Take a look at this. Look at Vi's expression. You can tell that she's scared, then she's asking for something or looking for something. Yet, she didn't say a single word. Impressive. I forgot to add this segment earlier, so I'm just gonna slap it here. The Vander theory. There's a specific theory about Vander's character that implies that he might be still alive, or somewhat alive. In League of Legends, there is this character called Warwick, who is basically some kind of werewolf thingy. I don't really know, I don't play League of Legends, okay? In Arcane, there's this specific scene where we see the scientist guy called this, that I don't know how to pronounce, that shows him doing his science experiments and foreshadowing this kind of werewolf-looking shadow, which some have speculated to be Warwick, and that maybe it is Vander that has been transformed into Warwick by the scientist guy. And to be completely honest with you, I kinda don't like that, because I personally feel that if a character dies, it should really 100% be dead. I really don't want Arcane to do like a lot of those series when the character you think is dead but ends up being alive, and that's kinda breaks the point of death, which is you can't just So I'm basically crossing my fingers so this isn't really true, but at the same time there's a lot of evidence that it might be actually the reality. I could probably talk for hours about Arcane and how amazing it is, but I think I'll have to restrain myself a little bit this time. My next video about a show will probably be about Dune, my favorite movie that I love so much. Get ready for a longer video about Dune. That's gonna be interesting. If you watch this video without even going to watch even one single episode of Arcane, seriously, go watch it. It's worth it. Like, there's a reason why almost every demographic like this show. Even if you watch it only for this particular scene, it's fine. I just want you to go watch it. It's worth it. Come on, I'm waiting after you. Anyways, so I really hope that this was interesting for you to watch, and have a nice day, week, month, and year, and may your destinies cross again.